we ultimately grew to like 400 people. We had 100 million in revenue. Yeah, oh yeah, it was a zoo.
In like a 12-month time frame, or how quickly?
It was like 18 months. Yeah, it was like 18 months. And we were filing to go public, and Bear Stearns was our underwriter. Going to have to Google that, people. And we were about a day away from being priced, and what that means is, you've done your roadshow, you've got all the people that are interested in buying chunks of the company, you're ready to go public, and Doug and I are in New York for the pricing. On Friday, Monday it's going to go out. Ding, 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 ring the bell. We're sitting there Friday, and nobody's calling us back. Our banker isn't calling us back. We're kind of like, what should we be doing? We're sitting here in the bar at the hotel. I mean, should we be there? And so we're calling Bear Stearns, and nobody's answering. And finally, somebody at like 12 o'clock gets on the phone. Hey, I'm looking for Jim Taylor. He's our banker. He's just not returned my call. Long pause. Jim was fired this morning. I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, who's handling our account? Well, the whole team was fired, actually.
Oh my gosh.
What do you mean the whole team? Well, the entire investment banking division is gone. And I don't know what to tell you. She said, I'm in retail banking, and there's literally no one here today. But from what I do understand, there aren't any IPOs. So have a nice day.
Good luck. On today's episode, we have the founder of Dundee Venture Capital, Mark Hasebroock. Steve, I have to admit something. I love what we do. I don't think there's any other job I'd want to do or any career I'd want to do. But if I had to, I'd probably choose what Mark does. And here's why. Let me try to defend that real quick. There was something that stood out to me when Mark was talking about investing in startups or even starting new businesses, is that he gets this rare opportunity to look into the future that most of us do not get to see. Something happens, a business gets going, a technology starts. We get to know about it after the fact. It's already started. He gets to see it from the investor from the entrepreneur's eyes and mind of what they see the future looking like. And he gets all these different glimpses of the future. I can only imagine how cool that would be every day just to get to see what the future looks like from a business perspective.
And Jake, it was exciting to hear Mark talk about what he sees the next 5 years with all these individuals that may have worked for a larger company now looking for something to do. Mark's mindset of what the unique and cool businesses that will be coming up in the future are going to be astounding. And hearing him talk about that was very rewarding and opened up my eyes of what can I take away from that in my own business and life.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
And he's got credibility too. This is a guy that has started multiple businesses. Some have failed and some have been massive successes. Close to an IPO on one business, sold to Jet.com, Walmart, started a venture capital firm. So he knows what he's talking about at every level of entrepreneurship. So I think our audience is really going to love this. So I say, let's just head west. Let's let them jump in. But stay tuned as we discuss why most people suck at sales, what entrepreneurship really looks like, and how to persevere through failure with our guest, Mark Hasebroock. This episode is brought to you by Skyline Point Capital. If you're anything like me, you're always considering where to invest your money. Stocks, bonds, crypto, and rental home, the list is literally endless. As we've all seen over the past year, the stock market is unstable, the housing market is just weird, and inflation is on the rise. In times like these, the clear place to invest my money is in multifamily real estate, aka apartment complexes. Here's why. Returns on real estate investments have little to no correlation with the stock market. There's lower volatility, stable income streams, and the tax benefits are insane. And let's not forget that the apartments will typically appreciate in value over time, which means you can walk away with a pretty nice return when the complex is sold in 3 to 5 years. Best of all, multifamily investing is passive, so you get all of the benefits without the hassle and headache of your typical rental home investment. Getting started has never been easier. Head to skylinepointcapital.com to learn how you can start investing today. Well, I thought we'd start our time together by exploring your first foray into entrepreneurship. I'm going to read a little excerpt from your bio because I think it tees it up pretty well. All right. Mark got his entrepreneurial start selling colored moccasins to pay for a spring break trip while at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. He paid for the trip, then had to issue refunds upon his return when his customers quickly realized that the moccasins dye stained their feet. All right, that's a heck of an entrepreneurial start. So why moccasins and what happened with the dye?
Oh God, it was a train wreck. So my roommate at the time was from Gordon, Nebraska, and he had come back from a trip home wearing these yellow moccasins. And I said, where do you get those? He said, oh, they make them out on the Native American reservation where it's just catty corner from our house. And they're everywhere. And I thought those are kind of cool. I mean, a little feminine for you to be wearing, but,
No judgment.
I wonder, maybe, no judgment, no, none whatsoever. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I just figured, maybe this is something that sorority girls might want to buy because they're pretty colorful and they're red and green and purple and blue. And so we kind of looked at each other with that lightning bolt. Hey, let's go do this, and decided to go sell these moccasins door to door to sororities in Lincoln with the idea that we're going to make enough money to go to Padre Island for spring break. Super aspirational, big
Lofty
thinkers.
Dreams.
And that was it. It wasn't like we wanted to fund our tuition or, things that would make our lives better. It was like, let's go to Padre Island. That's the ultimate objective. So we went door to door and we met a lot of girls in interesting ways by sizing their feet and sold a ton of moccasins. We were able to pay for the trip to Padre by maybe, $5 and, had a great time, came back, drive into the driveway of our fraternity. And there were girls outside standing at the door with their moccasins in their hand. And I turned to Jim and I was like, hey, we're going to be rich. This is absolutely astounding. Look they're waiting for us.
We got something here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so we get out of the car and kind of like this triumphant return, and this one girl comes up and I'll never forget, she's poking me. Look at my feet. And they were bright red. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And the other girls were purple and the other girls were yellow. And it was like, ooh, this is bad. We call the moccasin guy and he goes, well, they didn't wear them outside, did they? So, well, yeah, it's kind of a data point we probably should have known. Yeah, they wore them outside. They wore them everywhere. Oh, well, you can't wear them outside because the dye will come off and probably stain their feet. Yeah, stain their feet big time. So we had to refund their money in some way, shape, or form, or we had to find a way to substitute them out. And it was just a disaster. But, the lingering memory of a great trip to Padre Island versus, the disaster of customer service and knowing your suppliers was something in the back of my mind. Like, oh my God,
I bet that
way more than you want to know. But
no, that's great. I bet that stuck with you though. Quality control, customer service, how to think about those things that you never would have thought to ask your suppliers. I mean, I bet there were some learnings there that you were able to apply in future businesses.
Yeah, little fundamentals like, hey, is there anything I should know about these things that could go wrong? Let's ask those questions way in advance.
Yeah, just little things like that.
Who would think you couldn't wear moccasins outside?
Exactly.
I wouldn't have. I mean, it's like I'm going to buy a pair of shoes, but you can't wear them outside.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think to ask that question. Did the stain come off?
Eventually, but it was like Drano and Ajax and Brillo pads.
You couldn't show your
uh,
face in those sororities for months, probably.
that's the
Yeah.
guy.
It's just Jim's fault.
What's he selling
God.
today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
But yeah, it was a good experience.
I'd love to hear how you were able to get past that failure. One of the things I've heard from other entrepreneurs or people who want to start a business is that it's their greatest fear is failure. Now you're in college and you have this immediate and not insignificant failure, but that didn't stop you from continuing in thinking about businesses and starting businesses. How were you able to get past that failure and use it to your advantage and then excel going forward?
Well, I think you guys can identify with this in that I guess I just enjoy the chase and the building aspect, the problem solving. The if then. Okay, if we go to Padre Island, then we need this much money. So how do we solve for that equation? And you know what? If it's a failure, we'll try something else. And I remember looking back on it, and my roommate was just devastated. And I remember thinking, hey, this is no big deal. Let's try something else next year. And he just looked at me like I had three heads. Like, what are you talking about? I'll never do anything like this again. But just the excitement of it. I think I love a challenge. I love finding something where the world says, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Good luck with that. And I guess it's just the contrarian nature that I realized at that age. I sort of enjoy this when people say this can't be done. Okay, let's find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so how did you, so you leave college, and I know there's some things that happened in between leaving college and you starting your first business, but can you kind of walk us through how you got into starting your first organization, which I think was gift certificates, correct?
Right. Before that, it was popcorn, which is, supernatural transition, isn't it? And I had run across this idea for retail popcorn shops when I was actually in the banking business, and that I just stumbled into because my whole family had been in banking, and as a typical screw off in college, I get to be second semester senior year, kind of going, God, this is coming up. Now what am I going to do? And I stumbled into banking, and while I was in banking with First National Bank here in Omaha, I ran across this idea for a customer that had one retail store for a thing called Vicks Corn Popper. And he was like, this is a mess, and I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe we should just sell it. And I kind of went, ooh, popcorn, retail consumers, gourmet product, moccasins, banking, popcorn is the natural transition
natural.
for everybody.
Sounds like it goes together for me. That's
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I got into the popcorn business and really enjoyed that because again, it was one of those things where everybody was like, God, is he okay? What's he doing? I mean, nobody wants to go into a store to buy popcorn, but they did. And we opened up about 5 or 6 different stores around Omaha, Blair, Fremont, and then got into wholesaling popcorn. And the only reason, Jake, that I bring this part of it up is that I think is where I really learned to sell something. Because if you've never learned to sell, and it's a skill that isn't taught, it's a skill that no school says, hey, we have a sales degree. It's just one of those things that is in such high demand, but nobody really knows how to do. And I stumbled into this because if you've ever sold anything in a grocery store, it's really tough. And, the buyers, they all have independent buyers, like for health and beauty and for the meat department and for snack foods. You got to go find that snack food person, track them down in the store and haunt them just continually. Hey, here's my product. Yeah, look, dude, get it. Look at all the Frito-Lay products here. Why would I need a popcorn? Well, and you have to be able to, in about 15 seconds, get your point across. And I learned a couple of things with that is that you really better know your pricing and your costs. and how to get and hit the hot button for that buyer in like 30 seconds. And here I was, in my suit and tie, and the guy's like, what are my margins if you give me an end cap and you do a full display on the Super Bowl and I need a target of at least 35%? What's my cost per case? And I'm like this.
Good questions.
Yeah, really good questions. And I'm glad you asked those. Yeah. I'll never forget the guy at No Frills that threw me out of the store. Not literally, but pretty darn close. Just saying, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're wasting my time. Out.
Wow.
That was the end of our meeting.
Did you end up getting into No Frills?
We did, yes. Yeah. Yeah, because I just kept coming back. I said, I got your answers. And he's like, I don't need a popcorn. Out. Okay. And I'd see him outside and he's taking a break. And I'd say, hey, how about just try the popcorn? I hate popcorn, but you're not your typical consumer. Out. 6 times that happened before he's like, look, if you'll just let me sample it with some customers, and if they like it, great, you're in. So the perseverance to just be able to say, I'm going to keep going at this and keep going at this because I know it's going to work.
Mark,
that led to then the other ideas. Yeah.
Mark, one of the things you were talking about, perseverance in the sense of how many no's you had to overcome. But think about the people that give up, that if they would have asked or gone in one more time, they may have gotten the order, but they give up. What advice can you give to people about adversity and not giving up?
Yeah, I think it's just is such relationship building with the ultimate decision maker. And so taking the time to know who that person is and doing some research on them. What makes them tick? What do they like to do? Just little things that you mention, maybe about their family, about their kids, about something that they posted, something that they happen to mention in a conversation. Or if you're in their office, you see on their wall is hunting or fishing or football or family pictures. Draw all those things in. And I think what I learned is rarely do you have to talk about the product or the service. You talk about the connection and the relationship, and you build that. Because if you lead with, here's our product and here's the margins and here's how much money you're going to make, they kind of look at you like, I don't know, there's 1,000 other products right behind you. I really don't care. But wow, I've developed this relationship with Steve here, and he's such a great guy. And oh yeah, he happens to sell a popcorn product, but you just have that edge. And when they see you coming, they're happy to see you versus like, oh my God, here they come again, go away. And so I always led with the products and the margins and the this and the that. It didn't dawn on me. They really didn't care that much about that. They cared that it was a high quality product delivered with great service and by a person they could sit down and have a beer with.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And I think that relates today to everything.
It's interesting how you would think, it seems like a logical sales approach that we'll talk about the how and the what, and that's the important thing. You're interested in that it tastes good, that I can get it here in just in time, all these different things, and that is important. There is a hurdle there, like you got to meet this certain quality level, but it is about the relationship, and kind of to boil it down, it comes to the why of this product. And we've probably all read Simon Sinek's Start With Why. It's that why that actually matters the most, because that's the emotional epicenter of their brain that they can't really put words to, but it's the most important thing. And part of it's relationship, part of it's the emotions that come, and it's the what and the how that actually reinforce the why. And he uses Simon Sinek's, speaking of which, talks about how he uses Apple as a good selling point for this. If you look at your iPhone, this is not the best phone on the market, but they sell their why so well that we really don't care. It's a good product, but this is not the best phone.
Right.
And to your point, I think that's the piece that people miss in selling is they start with the what and the how and don't even talk about the why.
Exactly.
It's a lost art.
The emotional connection that people get, with that. And we tapped into that with popcorn to start with. And I just elaborated that over to a variety of other ideas and businesses and so forth. But it's always the emotional attachment that people have to, oh my gosh, popcorn. I mean, I remember sitting around having popcorn and movie night with my family or going to the movie theaters. Gosh, you remember the old Indian Hills drive-in? I mean, all of that stuff. You draw the emotion into it and the connection that people have. Then they say, this is a darn good popcorn. Well, that's great. But if you can really tap into those emotional ingredients much more than the physical ingredients, I think that's great.
Now, I'd love to hear, how were you able to do that in your next two businesses? So you went to, because they're both e-commerce, so you went to gift certificates, and then you got into hammocks, which then turned into Hay Needle, which I'd love to hear that sort of story of both of those, how those businesses went. But how do you communicate that in an e-commerce business where you have less of a personal touch? Everything's done digitally. How are you able to build that relationship and focus on the why rather than the what and the how?
Well, a good question. I think, gift certificates started from, there's a problem. And it really was, you remember the old Oakview Mall here in Omaha? So it was kind of a big destination. People would go to this place because it was the next great indoor mall, which, now is like, I think, a giant Halloween store or something. But anyway, the idea came from trying to buy a gift certificate at that mall through the customer service people. They had those desks in the middle, and you would just say, I just want a gift certificate to the mall. And there's some 90-year-old guy that's, part-time security, and he's writing down this thing on a piece of paper and then rips the one copy, and he keeps a carbon copy. And you're like, well, what happens if I lose this thing? Oh God, don't lose it. And you think, well, this is so impersonal and awful. And stumbling over to the Eddie Bauer, which was a store there at the time, and walking in with this thing and going, do you ever redeem these things? And the store manager's like, oh God, they're such a mess. I mean, we hate them. And we wish we had our own dedicated certificate that people could buy, universally somewhere. And my co-founder and I at the time, it was that old lightning bolt, not like the lightning bolt from the moccasins, but, but kind of close. It's like, God, you know what? People really are adopting the internet here. And maybe there's a way to have a universal gift certificate that you can buy online, but take anywhere that you want to redeem. And so to answer your question, more of the personalization of it, you're solving a problem of gift giving, which should be happy. It should be something that, people are generally enthused about, that had all this just pain and anger associated with it, and just saying, we're going to make this easy and simple for you. And so the connection on this was, first of all, to the merchant. We had to get people like Eddie Bauer to say, well, this is great. We love you guys, but to get them to say, we will sell you a gift certificate at a discount so you can sell it online, took some selling. Yeah. And again, so it comes back to the connection with the person making that decision, and it was basically one of the people at Eddie Bauer who then kicked it up to one of their regional people. We went and met with them, sat down, and we didn't talk gift certificates at all. We talked about this guy's love of hunting, where he goes hunting.
Brilliant.
We talked for about an hour, and then like the last 5 minutes, he goes, so wait, what are you guys doing again? Oh, we just want you to sell us gift certificates, $100 gift certificate for $98. And we'll sell them online. Yeah. And we'll sell them online for you. He goes, cool. All right, let's make it happen. Yeah. So that was our first merchant. Again, it started with personalization and connection and understanding who that person was versus saying, here's the financial metrics behind this whole model and here's what this is going to look like. It was just, here's a way for us to drive more sales for you. It's a problem solver for you. You're a great guy. We're great people, and so then it just became a phone call like, hey, we got to order another 1,000 gift certificates. So the model behind that was you buy these at a discount. Jake, you go online and you buy one for $100 and you take it to Eddie Bauer and you redeem it. But we didn't know that one, guess what the number is of gift certificates that are not redeemed on an annual basis, just percentage wise?
Ooh, I'd say 30%. Steve-O?
That's what I was going to say.
30?
Is from my background with our business was around 30%.
It's 75.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
So
oh my gosh.
So these are big cash cows for retailers, because you get your certificate and Merry Christmas, Jake. Here's $100 to Eddie Bauer. You stick it in the drawer. And 6 months later, you kind of go, where's that certificate?
That
Oh, well, it's gone. So they don't get redeemed. And so they get that money and it just sits there, but no merchandise ever exchanged hands. They call that breakage.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's circle back to the guy at Eddie Bauer. And he's like, this is awesome. I mean, we're selling these left and right and nobody's redeeming them. Well, okay, that's not actually what the intention was. We were trying to drive traffic into your store. Yeah. And happy customers. And this is not a financial transaction, but that's exactly what it was turning into, was something like. So anyway, we went to the Eddie Bauer, and then we went to Sears. Remember Sears?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For anybody listening who's under 20, that is an old department store.
And I bet you, Mark,
people are Googling. Yeah.
I bet you when you got Eddie Bauer, you had that flag in the ground. Eddie Bauer's doing this. So as that credibility to get it going with other vendors and companies?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, wow. If Eddie Bauer's doing it, well, then it must be legit,
mm-hmm.
versus Bob's Coffee Shop or something. It's like, Eddie Bauer's doing it. Oh, well, Sears is like, well, if Eddie Bauer's doing it, we're going to do it. And, then Land's End did it. And then
Kmart.
What was the other one? I drove by one the other day and I was like, good Lord, they're still in business? It's Shopko?
Shopko, yeah. Yeah. Sears, Shopko, and Kmart hang
out. But yes, it was kind of a domino effect. You got some big brands, and then there was that whole fear of missing out, some mid-level retailers saying, well, if those folks are doing it, can we do it? And then Doug Nielsen, my co-founder, came up with the idea of, what if we had, instead of these dedicated certificates on the website, what if you had a super certificate where you just give us $100, we'll send you a super certificate. It's got a very detailed code on it, and you can redeem that at any merchant anywhere, especially online. Again, so the merchants love that, because it's like, wow, now we get to be featured on your website, and so it was a little bit like, how do you get Google placement? Well, it was like, how do you get super certificate featured on giftcertificates.com? And so there was begging and borrowing for placement on the website. And then we started doing these test drive deals with Toyota, and that really was one of the breakthroughs, where test drive a car, we'll give you $50, and it's a certificate good at 1,000 different merchants. And so people were flocking into the Toyota dealerships to just kind of go, yeah, that's a cool Highlander there, but I want my $50. And like, let me sit in it. Okay, it's really neat. Here's my email, and thanks a lot, but give me my money. So it worked on a number of different fronts that way. And I think the idea for the business I'm in today with Dundee Venture Capital started with giftcertificates.com, because we were starting to grow. There was maybe 3 or 4 employees. We needed some technology backbone. We needed some more people to sell, and we just didn't have the money. And so we put a really fancy 4-page deck together that was copied and printed at Kinko's, for anybody under 20.
We're going to have a laundry list of businesses no longer in business.
Like, God, how old is this guy? Yeah. I mean, and so we went around, first of all, in Omaha, a little bit in Lincoln, and told the story to about 100 people, and got just so much great support and pats on the back. Like, good for you guys. This is really a cool idea.
This is cute.
I'm not going to invest, but geez, good luck to you. And when this thing fails, where are you going to work? Yeah. I mean, where are you going to really get a job? So, well, no, this actually is a big idea. Yeah, I don't think so. Warren says not to do this stuff. And so, but hey, good luck. And so, I mean, I'm a big believer in fate, and if you start throwing stuff out into the wind, I mean, things start coming back to you. And we were thinking, you know what, we just got to go to another market to raise capital, unfortunately. And through a friend of a friend, we got introduced to Madrona Capital, in all places, Seattle. And we fly out there. We meet with Paul Goodrich, who's the managing partner, and Doug and I do our dog and pony. And at the end of it, he just goes, "You guys, this is really a cool idea. I love it. But we were trying to raise $500,000."
And when is this? What time frame? 2000.
This would have been late 90s.
90s,
yeah,
okay.
Probably 1999.
Okay.
And he said, look, you don't need $500,000. And we were just crushed, like, oh my God, I thought we had this model pretty well figured out. And he said, you need $5 million.
Oops.
We said, what? How do you figure that? If you're not a student of history and understanding the dot bomb explosion of the late 90s, yours truly had a front row seat, not realizing it was happening at the time. But it was a go time of cheap money, lots of it being deployed into really bad ideas. Again, for those under 20, look up pets.com. I mean, okay, so that is, the epitome. And these guys said that you got to deploy $5 million, and you got to do it in 6 months, and you really got to just scale this thing like crazy. Go. Just, yeah. And we thought, what are we going to spend it on? I mean, we needed 3 salespeople, and we needed 3 more tech people. And so they said, no. This is how you do it, And I got a great lesson, a graduate lesson, really, in how to blow through $5 million in 6 months. And so, did we grow? We grew rapidly. I mean, really fast. And it was just long days, long nights. We went from a half dozen people to, oh my gosh, we had offices in Seattle. We had offices in the old Times Square. Not Times Square, the World Trade Center in New York, on the 41st and 42nd floor. We had one of our key investors in our Series B was a guy named Bill Ackman. Again, you might want to Google him.
Big name.
He was on our board. In fact, this I think might encapsulate the go-go period. I'm walking in Times Square with Bill, and he's talking about some stuff we're working on. Then he stops and he looks up, pulls out his StarTAC flip phone, Google it, and he goes, yeah, no, we'll take it. That's fine. Just, send it to giftcertificates.com, Hangs up. I said, what was that? He goes, we just bought that billboard.
Wow.
And a billboard in Times Square for like $250,000. Why do we need a billboard in Times Square? Well, it's name recognition.
Foot traffic.
Yeah, nutty, nutty. Sophia Loren was our spokesperson.
It
Yeah.
sounds like you're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so we filed. We ultimately grew to like 400 people. We had 100 million in
400?
revenue. Yeah, oh yeah,
Is this
it was a
in
zoo,
like a 12-month
and
time frame, or how quickly?
it was like 18
Okay.
months. Yeah, it was like
Wow.
18 months. Um, and we were filing to go public. And Bear Stearns was our underwriter. Going to have to Google that, people. And uh, we were about a day away from being priced. And what that means is, you've done your roadshow, you've got all the people that are interested in buying chunks of the company, you're ready to go public, and Doug and I are in New York for the pricing. On Friday, Monday it's going to go out. Ding, 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 ring the bell. We're sitting there Friday, and nobody's calling us back. Our banker isn't calling us back. We're kind of like, what should we be doing? We're sitting here in the bar at the hotel. I mean, should we be there? And so we're calling Bear Stearns, and nobody's answering. And finally, somebody at like 12 o'clock gets on the phone. Hey, I'm looking for Jim Taylor. He's our banker. He's just not returning my call. Long pause. Jim was fired this morning. I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, who's handling our account? Well, the whole team was fired, actually.
Oh my
What do you
gosh.
mean the whole team? Well, the entire investment banking division is gone. And I don't know what to tell you. She said, I'm in retail banking, and there's literally no one here today. But from what I do understand, there aren't any IPOs. So have a nice day.
Good luck.
Oh, wow.
Another beer, please.
Sand through our fingers. Yeah, beer me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What are you thinking in that moment? Like,
disaster.
Everything's breaking down around you.
We couldn't do anything. I mean, it was just all falling apart. It was right before our eyes, panicking. Get Ackman on the phone. He goes, deep breath here. Okay. I mean, this is no big deal. It's a blip. The markets will come back. Geez, Bill, this thing's a train wreck. We gotta try and fix it. Well, there's nothing to do. Just, I'll call you next week and we'll formulate a plan. Doug and I, on the way home, write a 10-page paper to the board, just saying, okay, here's what we got to do: is bring this thing back to Omaha, close this building, close this deal, close the World Trade Center, close everything down. And let's have it be like a 70-person company in Omaha, Nebraska. It's going to cash flow. It'll be a great business. Yeah, thanks, guys. Not a good idea. They patted us on the head. And the lesson I learned from all of this was, every subsequent round of funding, the more dilution that you take in, the more control you give up. And, it's like just clipping a finger off every 6 months. Like, well, you still got 3 left. So, clip. And soon you can't do anything. And your ownership is so low that you just don't have an impact. And that was a big mistake. And yet, here we were saying, God, even at our small ownership, if this thing goes out it was priced at $400 million, the underwriting, we'll still be okay. That all just went away. And it was literally like this FTX deal, and 48 hours just disappeared. And so the board kind of thanked us for our input and said, nah, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna wait till the capital markets come back, and you guys just keep doing what you're doing. And Doug and I were like, you know what, screw this. I mean, it was a good ride. We learned a ton, but let's find something else to do and let these guys just kind of take this in the direction they think, because it isn't going to work. If you keep scaling it and growing it like you're trying to, it just isn't going to work financially. So, lesson learned. Deep breath, and Doug left. He was like, I just got to take some time off. I had 7 kids at the time. I didn't have the luxury of taking time off, but I had a big box and I was kind of cleaning my desk. I mean, literally like into a big box. And it was a Friday night, and it was February, what is 2002, and the phone's ringing like crazy, and nobody's there. And I was like, God, somebody answer the phone. You guys remember landlines?
Yeah, dial up landlines.
With the circular dial.
Yeah,
so we had push buttons.
Look at
oh, you were
look it up on Ask Jeeves.
top of the heap.
And again, back to fate, I just believe, because I remember just throwing out to the world and just saying, okay, God, you got some plan here. I'm open to it. You just let me know what it's going to be. I'll just bide my time. And phone's ringing. Okay. Giftcertificates.com. May I help you? Hey, this is Dave calling from Yelm, Washington. And I'd love to be an affiliate of your website. I was like, oh God, this is the last thing I want to be doing right now. I put him on speaker, and I got pens and my water bottle, and yeah, Dave, tell me about your business. What are you working on? With no energy whatsoever. And he goes, I have a little website. It's called hammocks.com, and I sell hammocks.
Very straightforward.
And the very first thing, I was just like, honestly, it was like, oh my gosh, that just sounds so great right now, just to lay in a hammock. I mean, just body blows, broken ribs, I'm just so tired. I was like, yeah, well, tell me about it, Dave. And, my wife and I take our motorcycle down from Yelm, Washington, down into Mexico, and we buy hammocks at all the little villages up and down the coast, and we bring them back and we sell them at craft fairs, farmers markets on the weekends. And I put up this little website about, I don't know, 6 months ago, and I just think we need to have an affiliate to sell gift certificates to. I pull up his site, and I'm looking at it just going, oh my God. I said, Dave, this is horrible. I mean, this is probably the worst website I've ever seen. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, he goes, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just, I love the craftsmanship and the this and the that of the hammocks, but I don't know what I'm doing. My whole dream really of doing this, Mark, I want to build a drum studio in my basement.
Wow.
Which is kind of like having the goal of going to Padre Island, I said, cool. So you know what? I'll just tell it to you like it is. I think you should probably just sell this thing. You and your wife can continue to sell hammocks on the street corner, but this site's bad. We're not going to want to, have you on our website, and you don't know what you're doing. And it's just, I was angry. All right. And so he goes, God, I would love that. You know anybody that would buy it? I said, I said, maybe I'll buy it. What'd you do in sales? He goes, oh, well, we had a good month, and this whole year we will do about $50,000.
Not quite what you expected.
Not what I expected. I said, well, I tell you what, just, send me whatever you have and whatever inventory you have, and I'll shoot you a number. And one thing led to another, and we ended up buying hammocks.com.
Wow.
And I remember calling Doug, and I just said, okay, I know you want to take time off. This is like 3 days later. I know you want to take time off. I got the next idea, hammocks.com. He goes, I'm in.
Doug's vacation didn't last very long.
No, he's such a great guy. He is such a great guy. Anyway, we viewed this quite honestly as a bridge to like whatever our next life was going to be. Okay, hammocks, it's fun. Let's jack around with it. None of us knew anything about coding or, really how to build a website. And so we used to meet at Barnes and Noble, which was our office. And we had all the HTML for Dummies books out, kind of like, how do we do this again?
Yeah.
We decided to kind of redo his site and make it fun and a little eclectic. And, but we spent a ton of time learning about selling on Google. how does that work? And this was the early days of Google AdSense and all that stuff. And so we spent a ton of time on figuring out, how do we get hammocks.com to be the number one hammock site in the world? And we took his site down, we put the new one up. We paid for rankings to be number one. And you might remember they used to have 2 or 3 across the top. And then there was that whole weird side thing. So we were like number one here, number one here. And then our organic content was number one. And like the first day we did, we sold 6 hammocks. We're like, this is cool. 6. The next day we sold 7. And then we didn't sell any for like 3 days. And then we sold 50, which we didn't even have. We're like, oh my God, we don't even have these.
New problem.
So it's back to the relationships and the relationship selling and going to domestic suppliers of hammocks. And you guys, you got to understand, nobody was selling hammocks online at the time. And so you go to these guys like Pawleys Island Hammocks in Carolina, and they're just like, wait, what? Do you want a container of hammocks, or what do you want? We said, no, what we want to do, when we get an order, we're going to ship that order to you and you're going to ship it to the customer. And yeah, no, we're not going to do that. That's insane, which is kind of what Amazon does, 400 million times a day now, right? But that's what we were asking them to do. And we finally found some suppliers who would do that. But those string hammocks, those ones you kind of lay across, we had to buy from Mexico and bring in to the United States. And so then we were in the inventory business. And we started selling more and more hammocks. And it was great. We were having a blast. But one day, here's fate again. This guy calls and he goes, hey, I got my hammock. Thanks, and this was customer service was me and Doug, so he's thinking he's talking to this, enormous company. Like, well, no, this is one of the owners right here. Oh, no kidding. Hey, God, this, what a great hammock, great service. It was a lot of fun. Hey, do you guys sell porch swings? And this was at Barnes and Noble, right? So I lean under the table and I kick Doug and I'm like, I got porch swings. He looks it up and the domain name was available. And he's like, it's available. I said, well, buy it, And so I said, hey, full-time research while the guy's talking. He's like, yeah, I'm looking for a wood porch swing. I said, okay, let's see. I find a manufacturer. Would that be an 8-foot porch swing? The guy goes, yeah, I suppose. I don't know. And tell me what kind of wood do you want? And he goes, you know what? Are you guys in this business or not?
He sniffed it out.
Of course we're in this business. I'm just, being thorough. Anyway, so that was our first porch swing sale. And so then we had hammocks.com, porchswings.com. And Doug and I said, I wonder what else is out there. And we drove through a neighborhood in Omaha, it's Regency. And we figured those are rich people. They'll have lots of stuff in their backyards. So we had a yellow notebook and we're peering over people's fences like, oh my God, bird bats. Oh, there's a wind chime. Oh, Adirondack chairs, patio furniture, patio umbrellas. And we just went and bought all those domain names and just started figuring out how to build websites that would sell all those products. I mean, not too complex. Every single one of them, though, we had to get a relationship with the people selling an Adirondack chair, a patio furniture set, anything, because it was new to them to say, I just don't get it. This is going to be a dedicated site just to patio umbrellas. I don't get it. Because they're used to Nebraska Furniture Mart. I'm going to sell you 1,000 of these and we'll talk next year. And so it was a whole new way of selling. And believe it or not, we stumbled into this idea of kind of what is today called data science. But Jake, if you buy a hammock from us and you lived in Omaha and it was June, we were able to start piecing together, and not me, and it wasn't Doug, but we did have some smart people that figured this out that said, wait a second, there is a pattern here that if Jake buys a hammock in Omaha in June, more than likely he's going to buy bar stools in October because there's a correlation
Yeah.
between the internal, the entertaining, and the external entertaining. And well, let's send them an email on Barstools then, barstools.com, and you would say, how did you guys know I was looking for Barstools? That's nutty. And how do you know I need a pool table light? Well, bar stools,
Yeah.
dartboards.
Makes sense.
And then, so we moved through the house and then we built all of these different stores and we had 400 or 500 different stores that then became the brand known as Hayneedle. So, on the one common brand, you had a variety of different products that you could search for. So if you search, typically consumers would search, I'm looking for a hammock. They'd type in hammocks, not hammock, but it was plural, always plural. And it would be taken to either an individual site or to the overall brand. So that was the idea behind that.
I find it so interesting, and you hear this from entrepreneurs a lot. People who want to be entrepreneurs, is that they think the entrepreneurial early days are glamorous, and it takes a rocket scientist to get a business going. But you're talking about at the beginning of Hayneedle, you and Doug are driving around Omaha, looking into people's yards about what's some common out. Oh, they've got porch swings. They've got this other piece of furniture. Oh, maybe we should add. You're really just driving around and building a business as you go. And it's not this glamorous thing. And I think that's a big misconception for people who want to start a business.
It's like
just
you're figuring it out on the way.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure this out on the way.
Yeah. We knew, and there was a certain amount of pressure. We both had young families, and I didn't have a choice. This had to work. And so when you combine that with figuring it out on the way to like, this better work, you just make things happen. And I think it forces really fast decision making. And that lends itself to e-commerce businesses too. Like, oh my God, by 10 o'clock in the morning, this didn't work. Let's try something else.
Hey, Mark, you were talking about you've got a family, and we all have families, and you're an entrepreneur, which takes many hours to get this business up and going. And when you fail, you got to get back up again and keep it going because you've got a family. How do you balance that? A lot of people, business owners, struggle with balancing family and business. And how do you navigate it? Were you able to navigate it?
I don't think so. I think there was certain trade-off, and it was just like the sacrifice is going to be that this has to work. I wasn't drawing a current income. It was just kind of scraping and clawing to try and make it work, and realizing the choice that Jane and I had made was to have a big family. So we got 8 kids, and it's like, okay, that's not cheap, and somehow this is going to have to survive. And it's a survival instinct, but the trade-off is it takes a ton of time and a lot of focus on that. And the trade-off is you're probably not going to be at the 3:00 soccer game, but at the end of the day, do you want your kids to have a good education? Do you want them to have a springboard to make a decision to either be an entrepreneur or to pursue another career? And that was my goal. I just wanted to make sure they had those choices, and instead of not.
How'd Jane go through this process? Your wife, you're working she's got the 8 kids, trying to keep it going. How did that all work? Did you guys meet and talk and sit down at the dinner table at 11 o'clock at night going, okay, here's my day, and rinse and repeat?
Good, really good question, Steve, because she's the support behind all of this, and the quiet support, I would say, because she's not out trumpeting like, look what Mark's doing and look at all this. Not at all.
He's selling popcorn.
Yeah. I mean, a funny side story, when I started the hammock thing, Jane's walking with one of her friends in the neighborhood, and about halfway, her friend stops and puts her hand on Jane's arm and goes, "How's Mark doing?" and Jane just goes, "Well, what do you mean? What, like, does he have cancer or something, or what?" Well, with that that hammock thing. Like,
Well, entrepreneurship wasn't a big thing
like,
back then. I mean, people didn't leave and start a small business like that, right?
no, you're correct. And so she was supportive, and I would just unload with the challenges and the successes. And you both know the terror and elation is there every day. And you know what? At some point, you kind of thrive on it. I hate to admit, you know, it's like there's always that. It's just, and you either thrive on it or it kills you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know what? And Steve, you know that. It's just kind of it's part of the DNA all of a sudden. And she was just super, super supportive always.
You're talking about Jane being supportive. I can remember I'd come home after work. I'd get in the front door, and we have two kids, or have three kids at that time, one with special needs, and she'd go, "Here, they're yours," and she'd and then she just had to get out of the house and just kind of get, and I'm home, and it's like, home late. And so I got to put the kids to bed and everything else. And we navigated that because, as being grandparents with the grandkids, man, I know why you have kids when you're young, but
Right.
trying to keep track of them. But Lynette during the day was like, she was so frazzled at the end, and it was
Totally.
it was difficult for us. We had some difficult times.
Yeah, I mean, we had so I actually had my office in the attic of our house. There just wasn't any space for quiet, so I was up in the attic, and we had the old AOL dial-up. That here I am talking to a guy like, okay, we need to have 200 of these lime green fringe hammocks, and they got to be hello. And one of the kids had picked up the phone.
Oh man.
It disconnects everything. But you do, Steve, you talk about Lynette saying they're yours. I remember one time I think this was like a 3 straight 18-hour days, and I came home just exhausted and wanting to just have somebody say, "Hey, I know you're just killing yourself here. We really appreciate it." The door opens, I walk in, go in the kitchen. Jane goes, "I want you to go upstairs and kill your son."
Your son, not our son, your son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had a good day, did you? It goes with the territory, and if you don't have that, you will fail.
And I think it's so critical, and you're from the same way, Jake, and I know you too with your wife. You're a team. Mm-hmm. You're a team in this deal, and you've got different roles and expectations, and life's not easy. And some people forget that, but it is so crucial for entrepreneurs and business owners to have that balance with family and kids and life and et cetera. And it's because I know guys, Mark, you probably know guys too, that have done really well, but families have fallen apart. And it's there's more to life than from that side. For with your family, Mark, is there any advice you'd give to entrepreneurs that are watching this podcast? That what would you change differently if you could do it all over again from the family perspective?
I just think, from a family perspective, I think,
go ahead.
I think maybe it, involve your family more, and no matter what age. Just say, here's what I'm doing, and here's why I'm doing it. Because I think universally, our kids have no idea what I've ever done, or am doing today. It's kind of like, I know he goes somewhere and does some stuff, and then we go on vacation.
He's on his phone and computer a lot.
Yeah, he sends a lot of emails. I don't know, whatever it is. Anyway, I think having that just from a backbone perspective is important. And I don't care if you're a doctor, a teacher, whatever it happens to be. Just say, here's what I did today, and here's the stuff I didn't do so well. Because we just love to celebrate the victories, and none of us celebrate the challenges. and nobody shares in that. And then you wonder why you're alone, because then you bring it up and go, you know what, this isn't going to work. It's going to fail, and we're going to be out of money,
Yeah.
and life is not good. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How did this happen?
News to me.
Yeah. So I think that's super important. And the other thing is the value around the dinner table. We've lost that, and it's got to come back. And I say we just collectively. I don't see people having family dinners anymore. I think that's super, super important because no matter what, I always tried to be there for that. And it wasn't about me. It was about me connecting with, what did you even do today? Did you learn anything? Is there anything of importance in your life? You seem to be struggling. What's going on here? Or, hey, congratulations, big accomplishment. And then the other kids see that, they feed off of it. It's just important as a family. And, now it's like I talk to friends of mine who just say, oh, we're so busy. We go from club event to club event to club event, to game, to practice, to this, to that. And it's like, do your kids climb trees? I mean,
Yeah. Throw tomatoes, throw rocks, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about the dinner table. One thing we did with our kids is that we wanted them at the dinner table, and we'd rotate. One would have to carry the conversation for the whole table. So we'd rotate it.
Cool.
We'd have Kara do it, and then the next night Chloe would do it, and they struggle, but they would turn and, hey, Jake, how was your day? Mark, what did you learn today?
Yeah.
And try to carry it was so much fun because they were learning how to do that. And then the other thing we did is real early, if they want, I don't know if your kid would say, oh, let's get pizza from Godfather's. I said, and we'd go, okay, but you have to order it. You have to call and order it.
Smart.
So anytime we had pizza, we made them order the pizza.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So just stuff like that. It was fun. But yeah, if you're not around the table, you miss those opportunities, that family time to decompress from that.
Yeah.
It's funny we talk about this because this is one of our family values at the Preer household is we make time to spend time as a family at dinner time. And one of the things that we do fairly regularly is I've got two young daughters, one's 5 and one's 3. And each one of us will go around the table and say, what's one rose for the day and what's one thorn from the day? What was one good? What was one bad? We just go around the table, and it sounds really kind of simple, but at least for me, it's helpful because one, I get a download from my family of what was great and what was difficult, and we could talk about it. But I found for me as an entrepreneur is that, and as a guy, I just don't want to talk about things that already happened in my day. It happened once. I don't want to rehash it, despite as much as my wife wants to hear, what was the worst part of your day? Let me carry it with you. I'm like, I lived that. Yeah. I've processed it. I'm out. I'm done. But doing that routine actually forces me to say, okay, here's what was difficult with my day. It allows my wife now to be able to shoulder that burden with me, to be able to process it. And then, like you said, there's never anything that kind of catches her off guard. Like, wow, business going bad. I didn't know about that. We've talked about it already. And, we're kind of managing expectations. But that little thing we do with our daughters has worked wonders in keeping communication lines open in our household.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Great. Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's really valuable.
So you eventually, I'm going to fast forward here. You eventually exit Hayneedle. It goes on to be successful, acquired by Jet, which I think became Walmart or was acquired by Walmart. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on there, but what was correct. the reason for starting what you're doing now? And was there a need you saw in not only funding startups, but also in how it was done? What was sort of the impetus for starting what you're doing now?
Well, it goes back to really when we did the first pitch for gift certificates, trying to raise money for it. And then second of all, it came back around. So here we were, we had, I think, 4 or 5 stores. We're starting to generate some revenue. We had 5 or 6 employees, but it looked to us like as we would add a store to Hayneedle, we could predict with relative ease what the revenues would be. And so we went around, we need to raise $1 million. And we really wanted to scale the inventory and the people and the sales team and the development and the back, the data science behind predictability and all this stuff. Again, went to the same audience, like, we're back. And it's like, oh God, that last thing ended up in a ditch, and nobody did very well on that. Yeah, but this is a different idea. We're going to sell hammocks online.
Better idea?
Like, what? and nope, that's it. That's what we're doing. And it's porch swings, and it's this, and it's hard to find goods for your home. And Nobody, absolutely nobody was interested. It was just like, yeah, good luck. But anyway, no thanks. Had to go to the coast to raise money again. And this time went through a friend of a friend, got introduced to the folks at Sequoia Capital, which, probably one of the white shoe firms in the world. And so Doug and I fly out there and pitch the whole investment team on this idea. And I'll never forget just sweating, do it horrible, getting interrupted. Why this, why that, da, 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 da. We finish, and Doug and I are standing there in the lobby just going, oh my God, that was a mess. And Doug Leone, who's the managing partner, comes out and he goes, hey, gentlemen, great job. We're really interested. We'll get back to you today with a yes or a no. And I'm thinking, sure.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah. But side story, way more than you want to know. But he goes, so are you headed back? And we said, yeah, we're headed back. Our cab is coming. You guys remember cabs?
Yeah. The yellow things.
Yeah. Yellow thing. Yeah. Our cab is coming to take us to the airport in about 20 minutes. Oh, let me show you around. We walk around. There's administration. Here's finance. It's a real understated office, and still the same today. I mean, it's kind of tucked in on Sand Hill Road. We walk down the hall, and there's a room probably not bigger than where you're sitting. There's 4 guys in there, and there's these wires hanging down, and there's screens everywhere. It looks like a NASA control room. And I go, what is that? He goes, oh, that's a company we just invested in. We're trying to find them some office space. They can't find it, but so they're going to be housed here for probably a month or two. And I said, what do they do? He goes, it's called YouTube.
You might be watching this on YouTube.
I said, what? I said, it's called what? He goes, YouTube. I said, what is YouTube? People post videos of stuff they're doing in their life on YouTube. And I just remember thinking, well, that's never going to work. And he goes, yeah, we put like $30 million into this thing, and we own about a little over 40%. I don't know where it's going, but it's growing about 1,000% a month in eyeballs, people watching this.
Wow.
Whoa, that's incredible. Yeah. And so the mindset of how Sequoia, and particularly Doug, approached problem solving like that was really intriguing to me, because we get to the airport and my BlackBerry, Google it, what a BlackBerry is. My BlackBerry is buzzing. So I'm opening it, and here's a term sheet from Sequoia. 2 hours later, I thought, wow, speed, simplicity, clarity of thought, aggressive, swing for the fences kind of people. And that's, Jake, I mean, with the back of my mind, I was like, God, that's what we need out in the hinterlands where you can't get any capital, is that thought process. Anyway, so they were our partner. They became our lead investor along with Insight Venture Partners out of New York. And we had 2 of the best firms in the world that saw this model that no one else did. And I remember thinking, how come they can do that? Maybe we need to change the narrative a little bit. So fast forward, I kept saying that to people, and they're like, just shut up and either do something about it or stop talking about it. And so that's when I decided, you know what, let's try and fix that problem. There's got to be others like me and like Steve and Jake. You're looking for seed capital, and no disrespect, you don't want all doctors and dentists as your investors. You kind of want somebody who has maybe been there as an operator that can help you get out of the gate and give you a chance to run. And so that's was the genesis of Dundee Venture Capital. I was, all right, I'll take some of my own capital first. I'm not going to take anybody else's. I didn't want to screw this up and have people lose all their money.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went around and talked to a zillion entrepreneurs and bankers and attorneys and all sorts of people just saying, is there a need for this? And then started seeing some deal flow, and then started seeing some opportunity to make early stage investments. And so that was just the beginning of why we started it.
And how many are you invested in now?
So we have about 50 companies that we've invested in total. We did an institutional fund in 2012. That was, out, not my capital, but part my capital, but other investors invested in the idea. So Dundee Venture Capital was officially then a venture fund. And then we did that was $18 million fund. And we would invest a couple $100,000 to maybe $500,000 into a company. And then we did a 2016 fund, which was 30 million, and brought in a whole bunch of different investors. And then we just closed one in 2020, which was 42 million. And we're writing just a little bit bigger checks, and we're following on to, the early stage investing. That's it.
Mark, is there an industry segment you really like to invest in, as compared to one
Yeah,
or
there
the other?
is. Yeah, we're focused on anything related to commerce, and so my focus is direct to consumer, because I think I know it, and I just will sit up a little straighter when I see a direct to consumer idea of some kind that's unique, really, really unique. An example of that is a company called Somersault, women's swimwear, which I don't know a lot about, but I do know the problem they were solving in listening to both my wife and my sisters and my daughters say, I hate trying on swimsuits. They're uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's a bad experience. Da, 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 da. So Somersault was started for, the what's called today the body positive movement. Not everybody's a Victoria's Secret model, and so they're like, look, I'm not a size 1. I might be a 12, and I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I do want to get a suit that's comfortable and flattering and kind of cool. And Somersault geared themselves towards every size and different color, shape you can imagine. We'll send you 7 or 8 or 10 suits, and you send us back the ones you don't want, with the whole hook in saying, boy, once we get you with swimsuits, we're now going to own your suitcase. And it'll be, what do I wear down to the pool?
Mm-hmm.
What do I wear at the pool? What do I wear to the beach? What do I wear to cocktail hour? What should I wear to dinner? What should I wear to go to bed? And that type of stuff I really thrive on. And I can see that working. So anything related to direct to consumer is stuff I'll take. My partners will focus on other things related to moving stuff for consumers, whether it's into a warehouse, out of a warehouse, while it's in the warehouse, from port to consumer and back again, because returns are a big problem. Mm-hmm. And so, things like that I think the consumer is what makes the economy go, and it's not going to, end anytime soon.
And since you have a tune into the e-commerce consumer, the economy is the big talk right now. What's Amazon's down, e-commerce is down. What are you seeing in your portfolios, or for the entrepreneurs that are watching? What do you foresee in 2023? What e-commerce, is it going to come back up? What are you thinking?
I think what we're going to see is probably the next couple of years is going to be one of the greatest creation of ideas and businesses in American history. And I think a number of reasons that I believe that. Again, it's contrarian. Not a lot of people believe in that. But there's been so many layoffs and so many people poof out of a job that they used to love and now hate. And now they're wondering, well, what am I going to do? Do I want to be beholden to the man again? Mm-hmm. Well, there's problems all over the place. I'm just going to solve them myself. The ability to start a business is so easy today, with not much capital required to really, truly prove out an idea. And so I think we're going to see thousands of ideas and businesses created as a result. Many of those revolve around the consumer, because I think the consumer has so many avenues with which to choose, online or brick and mortar. And the more of those, the better. And so I just think you're going to see a lot of creativity. And then all the things that surround those, whether it's data, whether it's SaaS models, whether it's platforms, whether it's marketplaces, I just think there's going to be a renaissance. And despite what our government's trying to do to just pour more money into everything and create this inflation that's going to absolutely continue to go through the roof, I think what's going to happen is that's going to moderate, and the creativity is going to be just eye-popping.
Yeah, and those new companies that people are starting, those would be a great target company for Dundee Ventures. Is that correct?
Right.
Those
correct.
new those new companies that are going to come out in that marketplace. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah, I think you're going to. It won't be headlines because that doesn't really sell. But I think what we see, and it's a little bit of a vanity metric, but on average about 100 ideas a month. And when we started, we used to hear about and see about maybe 2 or 3 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all not Nigerian prince ideas. These are legitimate companies that are selling products and or selling services, where you kind of go, well, that was interesting. And that's what just continues to get my engine going, because I thrive off the energy I get from those founders and just sitting and listening to their story. It's a little selfish, I guess, but I get my energy from them, where they leave and I may go, that's probably not something we're going to invest in, but good grief, what smart people. They're going to succeed.
When you look for companies out there, how does it come across that you're from Nebraska, not from the East or West Coast, but you're a private equity firm, venture capital firm here in Omaha, Nebraska? Does that help you or hurt you?
Early on, it hurt us big time. Yeah. It was kind of like, I remember one guy asking me, so what is Oklahoma like this time of year? I don't know. I suppose it's south of us. It's warmer. It's that type of thing. It's just not heard of. Nothing cool happens out there. What really resonates now, and how the pendulum has swung back, is we're only investing in and helping companies in underserved capital markets. And so the theme is the same. Like, screw those guys in New York and California. We don't care what they're doing. But what we do care is that we have the common respect, hard work ethic, understanding of what it means to build a business, whether that's Salt Lake or whether that's Atlanta or Austin or Nashville. Common theme. And so then all of a sudden, people are saying, boy, that Dundee Venture Capital, those folks really get it, because they know our pain. They understand what we're going through. But it took a long time to get that message out, no doubt.
Wow.
What was the thing that flipped it? When did it flip, where it became, it was a negative into a positive? Was just time? Or was it pointing out your track record that, hey, look, we can do this as well. We don't have to be on the coast in order to succeed.
Yeah, I think it was both. Just, I always say we have 2 things really, our cash and our reputation. And that's it. And so I think our reputation is one of, we just do what we say. And we truly do help these founders when they want it. We're not birds on a wire, just kind of just chirping at them. It's just, let's help you find the talent you need, and let's support you as you go along this path, because it's sort of like your kids running in the living room. They're going to smash their face on the coffee table. Sometimes you want to grab them and pull them back, and other times you're like, what?
Good. Good for
you. Yeah. And so, first of all, doing what you say, and just treating it like a community, because it's not a big community, by the way. And then second of all is just, wow, you did some good investments. You actually had some good outcomes. The founders speak highly of you. You've returned capital to your limited partners, and you just do a good job. And that's kind of it. And so the more we share with upstream larger funds, the more they share with us. And in fact, 2/3 of our deal flow today comes from bigger investment funds around the country, because they see what we do and they're like, look, this is a little too early for us, but we know what Dundee Venture Capital does. Keep us informed, because when it's time for that big round, next big round, we want to be there.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of keeps serving. I tell you what, I've seen other funds come and go that don't try and do that. They try and squeeze, and just do the wrong thing by founders, all in hopes of just that one deal being a big home run.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work well. And they end up going away.
Well, Mark, we're coming to the end of our chat, and I want to respect your time. And we tend to end the episodes going through a speed round. But before we do that, in the build up to this podcast, you and I were chatting via email, and you had dropped a couple notes that I just can't leave without asking. So you mentioned pancakes and face creams. Can you please unpack that? And then we can go into speed round.
Right. Greatpancakes.com. So I love pancakes. I mean, I think everybody likes pancakes, but I don't think people love pancakes like I love pancakes. And I once remarked to one of my kids, I could eat pancakes 8 times a day the rest of my life.
Wow.
And he just goes, no, I don't think so. That's not even possible. And he goes, so where's your favorite pancake? And that was the idea. I thought, you know what? Maybe I should do America and the world a service by rating these pancakes that I go and consume at different restaurants. And so I started a site. It's called greatpancakes.com. And on there, I will review the pancakes that I eat at these different restaurants and give you an unbiased view. They're buttermilk only, no fruit infused, cream cheese filling, skinny jean crowd pancakes. This is buttermilk, butter, and syrup, and that's it. And like, again, the same gal that was walking with my wife is like, how's Mark doing? With this pancake thing. Oh my God, it's hysterical. It's so bad. It's, I think I like to write, and I think all of us think we have a gift of writing, which we probably don't, but nobody's brave enough to tell you to not do it. And so I just do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So greatpancakes.com.
There you go. And there's merchandise on there, of course, too. Yeah.
All right,
and it's pancake face creams. Yeah. So I was in Target. I was in Target a couple of years ago, and I think, like a lot of guys, you don't give too much thought to what you put on your skin. Mm-hmm. It might be Dove, it might be Prel, it might be
WD-40,
whatever is with arm's length. But I was thinking, how come there's just not stuff that I would want as an old guy? And I'm going up and down the aisles of Target with my little basket, nobody there. And so I'm pulling the stuff off the shelf and I'm going, what is that? My God, look at the ingredients. And it's like the entire backside of the bottle. I said, I can't even read half this stuff. I mean, is it any good for me? And sure enough, another dude comes walking down the aisle with his basket, and we make this awkward eye contact, like neither of us wants to admit we're looking for lotions, and so he does this, and I kind of look over here, and we sort of pass each other. I feel like I have to maybe talk about Husker football or something, but then he leaves, and then I'm back to looking at the stuff, and about 2 seconds later, I see this guy peek around the corner like, so I'm thinking, you know what? He's uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. But, we're kind of looking for probably the same thing. How hard can it be? Maybe I should just make my own skincare line. Famous last word, as Steve would say. And so it's one of those things where you go back to solving a problem. I've got a problem. None of these, at least commercially available things, suit my needs. I'm just going to make my own. And so I did some research. I contacted some scientists who put this stuff together. I tell them what I'm looking for, and through all these different iterations, they'd send me these little samples. Okay, is this what you're talking about? And I would try it, and I'd smell it. Oh God, no, horrible. And try again, try again, try again, try again. And finally, one day, this sample comes of a lotion, and I don't know if I was either fatigued or super excited, but it was like, this, I think, might be it. And I have a handful of people try it, like, ooh, that's nice. Would you buy it? Yeah, oh yeah, I'd buy it. I think, again, just being nice, but it's like, maybe I got something here. And so I created a line of men's skincare products. It's called Land and Lore, because all the ingredients come from the land. And every one of those ingredients has a particularly interesting story as to why we chose them to combine. And, we started with a lotion, and now we have a cleanser, we have shampoos and conditioners and hyaluronic acids and dry oil, which sounds like jumbo shrimp.
Yeah, to
but
say,
it's like
oxymoron.
it's a whole regimen of products, and it goes back to just loving to try and problem solve and build something. Yeah.
Well, your skin looks great, so it must be working pretty well. All right, let's do the speed round questions. So quick questions, quick answers. There's just a few of them, but this is how we like to end every episode, so some guests could or people could understand who you are at a deeper level. So number one, do you have any daily rituals that you swear by?
Absolutely. I work out and take a sauna and yoga every day.
And a large stack of pancakes. What's
pancakes at noon?
Yeah, there you go. What's one item you could not live without?
My iPhone.
It's good. That's a common answer. What's one business you wish you could go back and start or invest in?
I would go back to gift certificates and do it completely differently.
Smaller or not scaled as quickly?
Yeah.
It's good.
Cash flow.
All right. What's one thing in life, business, or real estate, which I know you're not in real estate, so you can just do life or business, but one thing in life or business that you are really excited about?
I'm really excited about this next generation. I think the next generation is going to really have the opportunity to shape the next 100 years for how life is enjoyed. And I see it every day. And so that really excites me. And I think, as I said, I get my energy source from those people.
That's good. So that kind of dovetails the next question. In what situations do you find you're the most happy or fulfilled?
Happiest when in business, when we make an investment in a company, it's very, very fulfilling because I can see behind the eyes what I got to experience on so many levels. And it's energizing because I can see what they are just about to begin. And that is really fulfilling to me. When I'm on vacation with my family and everyone's together with their spouses and grandkids, you can't get more fulfilling than that. I mean, that is what all of this stuff that we just talked about is all about.
That's so good.
That's awesome.
All right, last question. So the title of this show is called Heading West, and it's really a description of we start one place and we head west to our destination, and you learn a lot in the process of heading west, so to speak. and you evolve as a person. So last question is, as you head west from wherever you're starting to wherever you hope to end up, where do you hope to end up? Essentially, what is your legacy? Where do you want to be at the end of this journey heading west?
Sure. Great question. Love that. I'm 63 on Saturday. You know, you can send gifts if you want, Venmo me. And I figure I'm going to live to be 115. And so I've got roughly 50 years left to accomplish the next great thing. And that is going to be a reinvestment in my family and time with them in unique ways that I wasn't able to do before. And so that's one thing. The other thing I think is just the overriding theme of, if you can dial this in, is to relax. Because it's not retiring. In no way, shape, or form am I going to retire. But I think the relaxing has to be built in to the mindset that you bring to everything you do, from conversation to family to business to people you meet. There's way too much tension in this world for no reason. And I think if everybody just would take a breath and relax a little bit and listen, you know, those are things that I want to do the next 50 years, is just focus on continuing to build things in the right way, whether those are businesses or relationships, but build in an element of relaxation into that. And if you think about it every day, do we relax? Probably not.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah. There's too much pride in not relaxing. And I think we could all learn from that. It's just a great foundation. And so I'm going to try and do that as well in everything. And it's not like I said, you know, I'm going to quit and just go read the paper and eat croissants. It's going to be, no, I mean, we're going to continue to build and solve problems. But let's do it with family, and let's do it with faith, and let's do it with fun.
That's good legacy right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a great journey, Mark. You're gonna have a great journey.
Friends like you.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
Well, Mark, where can people find you if they want to look you up? Look up Dundee.
Dundee VC. Twitter is at Dundee VC. Mark at Dundee VC. So I'm surprisingly available.
That's great. And greatpancakes.com.
To a fault. Greatpancakes.com.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mark. That was an excellent conversation. And thanks again.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys.